I'm so tired. Hey, grab me a beer and some steak.
Mother-in-law, what are you just sitting there for? Go get some beer and snacks. You're really useless.
It was New Year's Eve, and my house was filled with relatives. My eldest son and his wife had just arrived and wasted no time in bossing me around. Still stunned by their rudeness, my daughter-in-law continued with a sour face.
We haven't even gotten a thank you for the Christmas gifts yet.
Huh?
Sierra's study desk and shoulder bag. They were nice, weren't they? Or didn't you like them? The colors were so cute.
I clenched my fist and quietly responded. All right, let me thank you then. Avril, I see you've started wearing men's cologne. Avril sniffed her sleeve with a shocked expression. Mom, Avril doesn't wear cologne. Wait, you're right. I hear all kinds of things from your son, Kyle. All kinds of things. I grinned at my visibly sweating daughter-in-law. My name is Liliana, and I'm 63. I work part-time in a restaurant, and my husband of the same age is still working full-time. Of my adult children, my eldest son, Benedict, and his family live in a high-rise apartment in town, while my younger son, James, and his family share our home. That's because James' daughter has health issues. After their marriage, they rented a condo but moved in with us to be closer to the big hospital where their daughter had been hospitalized several times. Being closer makes it more convenient for medical appointments, and my husband and I can look after our granddaughter if needed. I get along well with James' responsible yet unassuming wife. But no matter how much time passes, I can't get along with my non-live-in daughter-in-law, Avril. Are you guys struggling financially? One day I finally asked her. Avril habitually drops by unannounced and helps herself to our fridge. That day she was stuffing an array of high-end hams, fruits, and vegetables into her bag.
Don't lump us in with James and his wife. We have college and grad school degrees, you know.
So you won't mind leaving some for us?
It's just a little food. We're spending a fortune on Kyle's entrance exams.
In the end, she took canned and ready-to-eat foods too. My husband and James returned from a day out to find the fridge empty and were bewildered, but we couldn't tell Avril to stay away and just put up with it. One day, I came home from work and went to my dresser, only to find my jewelry box empty. James's wife wouldn't just take my jewelry without asking. When I asked Avril, she texted back, I borrowed them. But then, no word from her for 6 months. I couldn't take it anymore and called her. Avril, can you return my pearl necklace and diamond earrings? They're heirlooms from my mother. I'd like them back.
Oh, I lost them.
You lost them?
Sorry. I'll return them if I find them.
I was at a loss for words, too drained to even complain as I hung up the phone. I didn't want to blame her too much. It felt like bullying my daughter-in-law, and that made me uncomfortable. I convinced myself I'd given the money to her and let it go. I had been putting up with Avril's antics because I didn't want to make a fuss. But then, something happened that pushed me over the edge. One day, I went to the department store with my second son and his wife. We were shopping for a shoulder bag and a study desk for our granddaughter, who was starting elementary school. The shoulder bag section had everything from simple colors like red, blue, and yellow to more vibrant shades like lavender and pink. My granddaughter picked a simple red bag. Sierra, are you sure about this one?
Yep. It has cute hearts and butterflies on it.
All right, let's go with this. We also picked out a nice sturdy desk with a beautiful wood grain and plenty of storage. Both items would be delivered around Christmas. We left the department store in high spirits. Then Christmas Eve came. Sierra had been invited to a mom's friend's Christmas party and went out with my second son's wife. In the evening, after Sierra's desk and bag had been delivered, my eldest son's family showed up. Here's your Christmas gift, Kyle. The latest gaming console and some games.
Thanks, Grandma. I've wanted this forever.
Kyle's eyes were shining. He probably couldn't afford it himself. Yet Avril had a new designer bag every time I saw her. As they were leaving, Avril opened the door to Sierra's room without asking and peeked inside.
Wow, a red shoulder bag? How undated.
And the desk looks old-fashioned. Sierra chose them herself. It's none of your business. I couldn't help but snap back. Avril glared at me.
Defending her again, huh? You think she's so adorable?
Our Kyle is way more accomplished. She's the granddaughter of 2 people who didn't even go to college. If you're going to go there, then I have my own thoughts on the matter. Avril smirked and left. I dismissed her as all talk, never thinking she'd actually do something. The next day, I came home from work. and was hit by an awful smell as soon as I walked in. The source was Sierra's room at the end of the hall. When I opened the door, I was stunned, then screamed. The brand new study desk had been vandalized with red spray paint. I'm a poor elementary school student. Mom and Dad didn't even go to college, idiots. And her shoulder bag was splattered with brown paint. When I picked up the shoulder bag, my hands were sticky with paint. The hearts and butterflies that Sierra loved were now smeared in brown. Just then, Sierra and my second son's wife came home. They too were speechless at the sight, but Sierra walked past me and picked up her bag.
My bag is ruined.
Tears rolled down her cheeks and my heart ached. I quickly called the department store. After showing the pictures of the desk, I was told it was difficult to fix, so I reordered the same desk and shoulder bag. I was relieved to know they would arrive by the school ceremony and left the department store. When I got home, my husband and our younger son looked furious. Our granddaughter had cried herself to sleep. I had a hunch and asked my husband about it, and I was right. I reached out to our grandson and he kindly agreed to my request. Days later, I shared the results with my husband and our younger son and his wife. They agreed with my opinion. Now, all that was left was to wait for the holiday season when all the relatives would gather. 2 weeks later. On New Year's Eve, my house was bustling with relatives. Our eldest son's family was running late, but our grandson had arrived earlier to have dinner and play video games with our granddaughter. When the date finally changed, our eldest son and his wife arrived. Barely greeting anyone, they joined the party. They looked displeased when they saw only salad and some roast beef left on the table. "What the heck? There's barely anything left, man. I'm tired. Hey, give me beer and a steak."
Mother-in-law, why have you been zoning out? Go get us some beer and snacks, either from a supermarket or a grocery store. You're really useless.
Although furious, I held my tongue, considering the gathering of relatives. And then they complained more.
I haven't even heard a thank you for the Christmas gifts.
Gifts?
The desk and shoulder bag for Sierra? I made them cute for her.
Avril smirked.
I thought they looked poor, so I modernized them. Oh, you didn't like them? They looked like they were soaked in mud. They would perfectly symbolize her grim future.
Our niece's parents are dim-witted, so she'll never go to college. Poor, uneducated, and sickly. Her life's already a mess at 6.
Hilarious, she's living the dream.
You! My younger son was about to lash out, but I held him back with a glance. I understand. Let me thank you properly. With clenched fist, I headed to the kitchen. I returned to the room with steak and a can of beer that I had prepared in case the table emptied. I slammed the raw steak in front of my eldest son and his wife and stabbed it with a knife and fork. Here, steak. Then I popped open a can of beer and poured it over Avril's head. Here's the beer you were waiting for. Mom, have you gone mad?
What are you doing? Ah, my eyes!
My eldest son rushed for a towel. No one intervened. Everyone was just stunned. After wiping her face and hair with the towel, Avril, her makeup ruined, yelled at me.
Mother-in-law, do you find it amusing to torment your daughter-in-law?
What are you talking about? But Avril, I've noticed you've started wearing men's cologne. I can smell it from the dress you're wearing. Avril sniffed her sleeves, looking startled. It's the same cologne my father used to wear, I remember it. My eldest son frowned, puzzled. Mom, Avril doesn't wear perfume. Oh, you're right. Avril pushes past her husband, stuttering as she tries to explain.
It's someone else's scent, okay?
Even though you came in the car. I shoot Avril a sharp look. I've heard quite a few things from Kyle, you know. Quite a few things. It's winter, but Avril is sweating. Her husband presses her. So you were at your high school reunion overnight, right?
Why wouldn't you believe your own wife over your mother?
The room goes silent except for the voices of the arguing couple. The relatives who were chattering moments ago have gone quiet, now keenly observing the marital dispute. Just then, my grandson walks in. He nods at me and speaks to Avril.
Mom, you're close with your private tutor, aren't you? Do they teach at your alma mater?
Yes, they do.
To get into a prestigious middle school, you need connections, even with teachers. Is that so?
Their son slyly takes out his phone and presses the playback button before setting it next to the raw meat. Avril's voice soon fills the room.
Oh, stop. Not now. Kai will be back soon.
We're fine, don't worry.
I'm looking forward to spending New Year's Eve at a hotel with a beautiful view.
I've cleared my schedule for that day. Thank you for always being generous.
Don't mention it. I make good money as an elite post-grad.
The room starts buzzing again, and her husband's face turns beet red. I just remembered an urgent matter. As Avril tries to sneak away, her husband grabs her arm. You're cheating on me with that college student?
So what if I am? I'm young and successful. Men are naturally attracted to me.
Avril becomes defiant.
I could have earned more than you if it weren't for Kyle. You think you're so great just because you earned a bit more with just a bachelor's degree?
She seems to realize she's misspoken.
Kyle did nothing wrong.
She tries to hug her son from behind to cover her slip, but he shakes her off.
I wasn't planning on divorcing you. We still have entrance exams to think about.
At the mention of entrance exams, her husband's expression changes. Single-parent families are at a disadvantage in exams. I'll let it go this time. He returns to the seat next to Avril with a cough. But Avril isn't done. She turns to my younger son's family.
Even if my salary's decreased since giving birth, it's still way above what bottom feeders make.
She gazes smugly at my younger son's family, who are politely enjoying the roast beef. That's right, comparing us super elites to you barely middle-income folks is just sad.
We live in a penthouse. We're at a different level. Honestly, I'm not too keen on letting our kids hang out.
I couldn't help but laugh at Avril's pompous statement.
What's so funny, mother-in-law? That's rude.
I'm sorry, but when people with zero class say something, it's laughable, don't you think? No matter if you're a high school grad or a dropout, there are many out there who are far more decent than you. I looked at my eldest son, sighed, and touched my cheek. Don't you feel embarrassed doing this in front of Sierra and Kyle?
Would you just stop?
Avril stood up, pointing at the younger son and his wife.
Benek and I work at prestigious companies, not some rundown factories like you people. Kyle will surely get into an elite middle school. We are the chosen ones.
And yet you both got fired from those prestigious companies. The room went tense.
How do you know that?
Avril mumbled. Can you believe he got fired after all that bragging?
His younger brother, who works hard as a loving wife, is way more respectable.
And to think he acted so high and mighty with that innocent face. Avril looked down at me, stunned, and asked in a raspy voice,
How did you know, Mom-in-law?
Didn't you know? My sister is the CEO where you worked. She told me you both were let go for bullying your colleagues. Gasps filled the room. The eldest son and his wife, the momentum they had until just now disappeared. Now they are crouching, hiding their pitiful faces. What about the lawsuit from your subordinate for causing depression? They recorded your verbal abuse. Avril glared at me, grinding her teeth.
We'll get the best lawyers. And we still have Kyle.
She moved to her son and laughed triumphantly.
My son was already chosen for a scholarship. A bright future is guaranteed if you have capable parents. Right, Kyle?
What are you talking about, Mom? Kyle spoke, clearly annoyed.
The scholarship was my doing, while you were too busy with your private tutor. Let me choose my own path.
Avril went silent, a sour look on her face.
I'm leaving this family,
Kyle announced.
What? I talked to Grandpa in Detroit. I'm moving there.
Don't you dare make decisions on your own. Ignoring his father's shout, Kyle pulled out his phone.
I can't live with these kind of people. I'll go crazy.
He showed a video to the relatives gathering around. In the video, my eldest son spray painted on his niece's study desk, yelling,
Woohoo! I'm going to repaint my niece's poor shoulder bag into something stylish. It's like muddy water, so it's fun.
Avril was also there, splashing brown paint on a shoulder bag.
This is just insane.
The relatives frowned and shook their heads. Even with their education, they're awful people. Being highly educated doesn't make you a decent person. At those accurate words, the eldest son and his wife fell silent and looked down. My grandson continued his rant.
So you got fired, and now you're planning to make Grandpa pay for my tuition? You think it's his duty to support his grandchild? You're worried about losing your financial support if I move out, right?
Yeah, no more fun money.
We won't even be able to buy clothes if unemployment runs out.
Before worrying about that, think about the legal fees. When I offered this scathing advice, Avril paled significantly.
We need money even to settle out of court. Benedict, what are we going to do?
The eldest son, who had turned as white as a sheet, clung to me. Mom, lend me some money. We're family, aren't we?
You are Benedict's mother, aren't you?
After everything you've done, you've got the nerve to ask. You've got some nerve. Ignoring his parents who were being berated by the relatives, the grandson went back to his video games. Eventually, the party ended and one by one the relatives left. The eldest son and his wife, who had been abandoned by their son, snapped back to reality when only the second son and his family remained. They lashed out at me.
You're destroying our family. That's really low.
How could you use your grandson to set up your son like this? Are you even a mother? If you have something to say it now. This is your last chance.
What?
From now on, don't step foot in our house. My husband took over from there.
We want to cut ties too, but since we can't disown you, we've made a notarized document. You're cut out of the inheritance.
This seemed to finally shock them. My eldest son held his head in his hands and groaned. Averil's eyes filled with tears as she began to tremble. And for good reason. Our estate is significant, including a considerable amount of land and rental income from condos and apartments.
I'll say it again. Benedict gets nothing from the inheritance. You'll have to figure out a living expense and legal fees for yourself.
Don't bother us anymore. You're a nuisance. With these cold words, the eldest son and his wife were devastated. They had been living comfortably in a high-rise apartment downtown until the layoffs came. They couldn't afford the management fees and moved to a cheaper apartment. However, our relatives who lived in the same town spread rumors about them, so every time they went out, they got bad-mouthed and had to sneak around even to go shopping. Although the case he was sued by his subordinate was settled by paying a settlement, he has used up all his savings and spends his days looking for jobs to make ends meet. Both the eldest son and Avril were picky about jobs because they felt they deserved better, but they often clashed with coworkers and customers because of their arrogant attitudes. They got fired repeatedly. Avril apparently got dumped by her private tutor, applying the principle, out of sight, out of mind. The eldest son considered divorcing, but they're living together to save on rent and living expenses. Thanks to Avril's affair, she can't stand up to her husband and is subdued. Now that Avril's unannounced visits and verbal abuses towards my second son's family have stopped, we're enjoying our peaceful daily lives. Sierra's smiles have become more frequent, and perhaps thanks to her newfound emotional stability, her health has also started to improve. We're hopeful that her symptoms will continue to get better, and eventually she won't need to visit the doctor anymore. Our grandson comes over from time to time, engaging in lively games and chit-chats about school with his sister. The sparkle in his eyes tells us he's enjoying his freedom away from his parents, thriving at his maternal grandfather's home. Moving forward, husband and I plan to continue supporting our second son's family and look forward to many happy days ahead.